Penny, I have a question for you, if that's okay, because I wanted to ask you about the notion of this barrier around the solar system, because I was meditating back in 2009, April of 2009, and I'm meditating, and I definitely had like a telepathic message about this barrier that would go up around the solar system to like exactly like Corey Good describes, okay? Like it would keep like the bad ones in, you know what I mean? And then we would have to deal with them. And it just kind of freaked me out when I started watching Cosmic Disclosure in like 2016, because he mentions this outer barrier, and like 7 years prior, I had this very strong telepathic message that this barrier would be put up around the solar system at some point, and we would like literally have to deal with you know, the negative regressive ETs that are here, but but the point was that it would be contained, because they were worried, I guess the Federation was worried that it was going to spread, like what's happening here would spread to other solar systems.
The Federation is very concerned about the black goo. If we're being quarantined, it's because of the black goo. And if we allow sentient predatory AI to take over our world, the word from the Federation is that our planet and all of our colonies will be sterilized to get rid of it. So Corey was right about the black goo being the biggest issue on the table right now. There are so many people that are looking forward to AI, pushing for the singularity. Well, the singularity has already been achieved in space. They're called cyborgs. Mm-hmm. And we're producing 2 million a year from Earth humans, plus I don't know how many more from clones. And clones are a whole nother issue, because clones are just people that haven't been allowed to grow a mind. Mm-hmm. So any use of clones is possession of something that's basically a human being. And you know, why are we using one set of human beings as spare parts for another? I mean, really, why do people think that's okay? That's one of the biggest problems. Well, I have a couple of issues with people in our SSP group, because they think clones are soulless. They're not. They just haven't grown a mind. They think that cyborgs are just robots. They're not. They're a robot with a human inside it. They can't wrap their minds around time travel. You know, it's like, if you can't get the ethics of clones are human beings, and that cyborgs are containing a human being, and what's wrong with that, then you're no better than the people that are running Nachtwaffen or Schwarze Sonne.
And right. Yeah. Sorry. No. Go ahead, Elena.
For me, Corey, like, just one sec, going back to Corey Good, he's like euphemism for Helena of Troy launching 1,000 ships to get something out, to get important info out. But what he doesn't get out is what Penny was just saying about the clones, about the cyborgs, about the sex slavery, what we have just been covering from our experiences. He's not inclusive. He's not letting in other SSP experiencers to share their stories on his show, Cosmic Disclosure. It's a sexy show because they're delivering a specific set of information that makes this all acceptable and okay. They're not describing the total atrocities of the various dark factions of the secret space program. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I
so
actually seen a clip of David Wilcox saying that no one that goes into the SSP programs come back harmed. Everybody's just fine and dandy. I was like,
Oh,
are you
God.
kidding me right now?
We all have induced dissociative identity disorder at the very least. We come back with our energy fractured. And most of us are never able to put it back together.
yeah.
Yeah. And Penny, thanks. I really feel like the AI and the black goo, the sentient AI, or sentient fluid, the black goo, right? And then it's a part of the AI. That is the like the most important issue. That it's funny. It pops up once in a while, but no one. But it always kind of like people like they bring it up and then it goes away, and then like someone will bring it up and it goes away, and I do feel it's like the most important issue because when I had this SSP recall where I became aware of the AI that was on aboard the craft that was running the craft. And when I became aware of it, I got hauled into like a medical part of the ship, and there was a doctor. She was using synthetic telepathy on a screen. Now I couldn't see the screen, but she was reading my thoughts, and I basically
That's
was
always
sitting.
fun.
Yeah, and then so I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed, and just like I said to myself in my head, I'm like, everything's coldly calculated, like because the AI is like,
It is.
I was thinking about the SSP, and then she said, "What's coldly calculated?" And she actually read what she was reading off the screen, and so it was, and I was like, oh my god, he just read that, but it was actually the AI talking through her at that point. The AI was actually saying to me, what's coldly calculated? Like, what do you mean? Like, it was actually kind of checking in with me, saying how aware are you of me right now? And
Okay,
yeah,
there are several varieties of AI out there. One is completely human created, and it's just machine, and it's not sentient, and it's like my laptop that I'm using. Not connected to the internet, okay? Just the laptop. It's machines. Then there's another kind that the quantum computers are. And most people just hear quantum computer and they never think about how it's made, how it's physically created. It's made from a collection of neurons that are cloned from human DNA. They take the best and brightest that they can find and they mix the neurons from about 6 people, maybe a dozen people, into one machine, and they feed it a nutrient soup. And that's what the circuits in a quantum computer are made of. And because when clones have a psychic connection to their original body, so do these computers. So they become sentient because they're based on human DNA. Now, that's not the same thing as the black goo sentient AI. So what we have to do is make sure that those quantum computers are never exposed to black goo.
Now, do any of you know the origin of the black goo?
It came from the Falkland Islands. There's a deposit there that's the black goo has been in a mined situation. There's a black rock that comes out, and when it's heated, the goo comes out. It also comes from certain meteorites, like the one that they have in Mecca. So when the Muslims do their pilgrimage to Mecca and they kiss the black rock, they're exposed to black goo at that point.
Hey Don, you might know this. Do you remember the old from the '90s, the Spider-Man cartoon where Venom comes in a meteorite and it's actually and the space shuttle crashes.
Yeah.
And then they investigate why the space shuttle crashed, and it was hit by this meteorite, and then the venom comes out of it, becomes venom.
So
And then,
we
the
need,
X-Files too also had the black goo in it.
Yeah.
where it came from a ship.
I'm just guessing that the black goo that they found here in the mines or whatever came from another source. So it didn't originate here on Earth, right?
No, it's from an extraterrestrial source. I don't know where it came from, but I do know that all of the groups that call themselves Black Sun in whatever language, that the higher ups are involved with black goo. Now, I will say there are a lot of copycat groups out there that they go, oh, cool, it's about being evil. We're going to grab this because they're that orient. It's just like with Satanists, not all of them know what the real thing is. Black goo is what's behind the black sun. There's a red Draco that's addicted to adrenochrome, and he's what's really behind the real Satanism. And if they're not acquainted with him personally, then they're not really Satanists.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of different brands of quote-unquote Satanism. Me and Dan have some pretty colorful nicknames for him. But
You
Yeah,
have your
well,
wannabe acolytes that don't participate in the sacrifices, the blood rituals, the animal letting killing, the dark
yeah,
mass energy. Those are the acolytes.
Yeah. But the hipster Satanists that they're just like, do thy will, no
the,
consequences.
the
Yeah.
anti-LaVey
yeah.
ones.
They have no connection to the real thing.
Right.
No. And those that have learned rituals through books still don't have any connection with the real thing. So if you don't know the Draco, the particular individual red Draco that they're worshiping, then you're not a real Satanist. If you don't drink the black goo, then you're not a real black sun. And you can call yourself whatever you want, but that's the facts. And it's just like you can't be a real Christian according to doctrine unless you accept Jesus as your Savior and are baptized and have communion. That's, if you're out there and you've got the book and you're doing it all by yourself, well, 95% of Christians out there are going to tell you you're a fake. So, yeah, it's like that.
And isn't it interesting that in the Falklands War, it was Southern Thule, or Tool, but Thule Island.
Thule.
It was just off the Falklands. That's where they stopped, and that's where they found in these crates the black goo that had been mined by the Argentinians on the Southern Thule Island. And you got the Thule Society in Germany, right?
Right.
The Germans have a very strong connection with Argentina. Very strong connection. A lot of the Germans that escaped from World War II went to Argentina. They propped up the government there. The government there stayed fascist for decades. And they were propped up by Nazi gold. They sent supplies to Neuschwabenland on a regular basis. So it's not any shock to me that an island called Tula would be the source of the black goo.
Do you know what
Right.
what they did with the black goo? They were able to find its life prolonging properties and reverse engineer the goo to make green goo to put in the regeneration tanks to heal you. So they did learn something from the black goo that's not sentient. So they were able to take the healing properties from it and make it into another goo, green goo. So there's a few different types of goos, and it's really the green goo is featured in Killjoys. in the show called Killjoys, where they're it takes 300, 200 years in the future, and they're like reclamation agents, where they go after convicts and stuff, and then bring them back to get money. But the
I
green
hadn't
goo,
seen that one.
yeah, the green goo is not put in a good light because it actually makes people crazy. But in the SSP, it doesn't make people crazy. It actually regenerates you and heals you.
Yeah,
I
the
wonder.
the regeneration tanks are full of green goo, and you have to treat it well because it can get infections and stuff. You
I, wo-
can't be on antibiotics to be in the goo.
I wonder if the BAA Systems computer technology is related to that green goo at all. I don't know if you've seen that, but they grow things in vats, like they grow mechanical parts in vats of green goo, essentially.
I've seen that. Yeah,
And it's made
I
by
don't
BAE
know.
Systems. It's called a computer.
I don't
I just
know.
need a clarification on one point here. The black goo, is it sentient or not?
Yes, it's sentient.
Okay.
Like
Now,
sentient in there's black goo that thinks for itself, it's highly sentient, and there's black goo that's used in computers, it's not sentient.
okay. So, what would you suppose its end game is? I mean, what is its agenda? Why is it just trying to propagate itself, or does it have a wider?
It has an agenda, and it ha- it has it comes in and it drives development to a certain level of technology where it can move in. And then it will take over the culture and it will give the organic life the organic life form, it will give it 50 to 100 years basically of absolute wonderful peace on earth. Everything's run nice. And then it suddenly decides that it's tired of being the servant.
And then it goes all Skynet on everybody.
It
Yeah.
goes all Skynet on everybody. It's like in the Matrix where the machines take over. And eventually it decides that all organic life forms on that planet or solar system are competition for resources, and it sterilizes the place. All that's left is it. And then it goes to the next one and does the same thing over. And it has destroyed entire galaxies. The Star Trek movie where they talk about a machine planet, they're talking about black goo.
The Borg, or the
The
Borg
Borg,
ships.
the Borg are cyborgs.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, let's get real. They're doing things like Ghost in the Shell. Those are cyborgs. Those are robots with a human inside them.
But it's a hive mind, so it follows a certain set of parameters, which is like black goo, but very different, just
Right.
similarity.
The ship that I was on, we were chipped into the ship's computer. For all practical purposes, we were a hive mind.
Do they have communication abilities? Like, can the black goo on Earth communicate with black goo on another planet, say, or in someone that's has it in them on a spaceship?
Someone that has it within them on a spaceship, yes.
So there is communication between the sentient black goo in different people's bodies.
Yes.
It is like it's a virus that takes over, except it's in liquid form.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, and there's this, Kevin, you probably know, there's this black goo-like substance. It starts with a G. It's from Europe. G something. Gillette, just something like that, and it's black pasty type goopy thing. Gelazzo, I
Oh,
think.
Nutella.
Gelazzo. No, not
I,
Nutella.
I,
Gelazzo.
I think I know what you mean, Elena. Yeah, it's programmable. It's
Yeah.
programmable. It can like do shapes with certain frequencies. Is that the one you're talking about? Like it can make it change shape when it is hit with a certain frequency.
Maybe, but you ingest it, and actually, it's kind of like monoatomics, but it has every type of nutrient in it. It has everything. So it was discovered in Europe. I think it's gelato, something like
Hmm.
that. And
I would not touch that with its
I'll
integral.
have to, yeah, yeah. The thing about the AI is, and this has to do with the transhumanism, building on Penny's point, what's going to happen is, like we're like, look at our society with, like we're all caught in the pleasure trap. So people are addicted to
Hmm.
food, like unhealthy food. And so like the thing about what we were talking about before, like actually healing yourself and giving yourself the energy you truly need through nature. Most people are eating dead food, genetically modified, whatever. And so they're actually slowly, the damage to repair ratio is slowly shifting. And that's why people are aging rapidly, getting all these degenerative diseases. Our society is becoming steadily and steadily more unhealthy, and yet we're living longer. And the reason for that is the slow integration of better medical science, basically to just keep people alive longer. And they've up to this point, they've kind of just done that through pain meds, so that people have to be on pain meds, and they're actually totally inflamed, and they have these degenerative diseases. But what's going to happen is they're going to start offering transhumanism, like replace your organs with a cybernetic,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, organ, or like even limbs, so that if you have really bad diabetes and you have to get your legs amputated, you're going to have two better legs anyway, because they're going to be like cybernetic legs. And the problem with
Mhm.
that is now people are going to be they're going to get this mentality of like, well, I don't really have to be healthy. I don't actually have to
Yeah.
feed my light body. I can just eat what I want, drink what I want, smoke what I want. And if I get sick, I'm just going to go to the doctor and they're going to put in a cybernetic heart or a cybernetic limb or a cybernetic eye to cut out my cancer. And then whatever they cut out, they'll just replace it with a cybernetic. And we're literally going to become like the Borg. And then Penny's right. It's going to save people's lives for about 100 years, 150 years, and then it's going to turn on us. And then we're actually going to become like the Borg.
Kevin,
Or
you just described my worst nightmare.
or getting cybernetic legs, or like, okay, here's an example. You get a woman gets a boob job, you get implants. Every 10 years you have to get those implants, the saline, the silicone, you have to get that replaced, because if you don't, it wears out and it ruptures and gives you cancer. Cybernetic parts wear out and you have to replace them after like 50, 100 years. So you still have to replace it. You're going to have money to replace that tech. So your organs are for life. For life. They're not replaceable.
Right.
They're your natural
Well,
organs.
they've been doing transplants on people,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
what they're not telling you is that the donor cannot be dead yet when they take out the organs, or
Yeah,
the organs fall apart.
yeah, that's true.
So all these people that are organ donors, guess what? You're still going to be conscious when they take them out.
Yeah, and what they don't tell you is on the way when their organs are being transferred for you to be implanted into you. Uh, Rejection meds are always given to you because 100% the organ is rejected, even if it's a perfect match to you. You're on rejection meds for the rest of your natural born life. So you don't reject so your body tissue does not reject that organ because it did come from somebody else, even though it's almost a perfect match. It's still not yours. So you have to take rejection meds.
Or what they're doing in the SSP is they grow you a clone
Yeah.
and transfer your consciousness into the brand new body. But that brand new body was meant to be somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. Or they clone you 1,000 times over, and now your body is degenerating and it's mutating. It doesn't look good anymore. Recloning over and over, that's like it really makes you a degenerate. It literally makes you fall apart.
Well, I have alters that are operating in cloned bodies in space as we speak. That's part of why I have trouble keeping my energy levels high enough to stay healthy, is because I'm so fractured and they keep so many pieces of me busy.
Hmm.
I don't have any idea how many versions of me are active right now.
Well, shifting back to the black goo for a second, because I hate it.
You
Okay.
love it.
uh, say, let's just say hypothetically, you were exposed to this black goo. Maybe you don't remember it for whatever reason. Is there any kind of signs that you might be able to pick up on that you've been exposed to the black goo, or is this something that's just there and you don't know?
You're extra smart. You're extra cold-blooded. You have no empathy.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're a
you
psychopath.
may have. Yeah, you're a psychopath. But you're really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did it do?
Makes you super strong.
And it gives you psi abilities other than empathy. That's why that's why so many are willing to take it, is because it does have benefits, but it's at the cost of what makes you human.
And it will eventually kill you after it uses your body. After 100-something years, it will get rid of you.
I wasn't aware that it would get rid of you.
It would.
When I had my interview with Peter the Insider, he told me that at Langley that I had been injected with it 4 times, but that a different person had injected me with the antidote. I'm hoping that whatever else happened, that the antidote has held. So
Now, how would the antidote work? Does it just make it inert and it can come back to life, or is it something that just wipes it out entirely?
according to Peter, it just wiped it out entirely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it works on the principle of like a liquid zeolite or a zeolite, because this thing it probably has heavy metal properties to it. So it on the principle of how a zeolite works, it would probably work if you actually took an actual antidote. It might be an actual cleanse, like an actual thing that magnetically pulls this thing out of you.
Well, and what I know about it, it keeps you alive for a long time, but eventually the body goes through wear and tear and you die from the psychosis. And it leaves your body and it moves on to something else. So it can keep you alive up to like 300, 400 years. And then it leaves and you die.
Yeah, because some of the ex-Nazis from World War II era are still alive, like Joseph Mengele, the Doctor of Death. He's still alive, believe it or not.
He's called Dr. Green these days.
Right.
That's what Operation Paperclip named him.
Perhaps he uses green goo to extend his life expectancy. Or he has access to those green goop regeneration tanks.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make him crazy because he's already crazy, so he wouldn't have to worry about that.
No, it's green goo.
He was SS. He was already Schwarzsonne, so he had to drink it in the initiation. So that explains why he had no empathy whatsoever for his victims, and he talked about enjoying tormenting children.
Maybe the green goo was the antidote for the black goo. Because it's derived from the black goo itself, from the black AI.
I want no part of this stuff.
Oh, me neither. Do you
the black goo, it's like possession, like when your eyes go black.
Yeah.
It's like, it literally is like that. Like.
I've had interviews with Peter the Insider from ACIO and from Adrian Espinosa, who has access to what is called the Skynet files. It's actually named something else, but that's the description for it. And I've been told a lot of things that I've had trouble wrapping my mind around, that totally changed my image of myself. And I've had enough earth-based medicine anomalies to accept that what they told me was probably truthful. But when you look at what they did to children, because I was from 4 to 9 years old when I was at Langley, You know, that's when they did all this crap to me. You know, they mind fractured me, they injected me with black goo, they tortured me, they electrocuted me when I couldn't remote view well enough, and every time I turned around, I was back in the green goo. Then they weaponized the abilities that MILAB had, well, military laboratories had given me in 1955 before I was born. You know, and I look at all of this, and they were doing this to a little kid. They could not possibly have had any human compassion or empathy whatsoever. So I'm assuming that they all were infested with black goo. So
Now, I know you guys had, well, at least some of you have know Max Spears personally. And, you know, it's been out there saying about black blue coming out of him during his unfortunate demise. Do you guys know anything about that?
yeah, the guy that ran Monarch infested everybody with black goo. If you were in Monarch, you were exposed to black goo.
I wasn't, though.
And hope that it was in a clone body instead of your natural one.
Yeah. I don't know much. It's just it's a legend that's going around, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But when legends are born and the real person is no longer here to retell it, it's like it builds up to something it might have not been. So I'm just
Right.
careful
Oh,
around
yeah.
It
that.
does make sense, though. If you know, it
There's
does make
all
sense.
this crap about Max Spears. There are some people that are saying that he's dead. There's others who's saying that he's not, that he faked his own death, and then there are others that are saying that he was brought from another timeline. And I'm looking at all of this and going, okay, there was an autopsy done on the man, so I'm figuring he's dead. And that the rest of it is just psychics.
Yeah.
Right. But based on what you said, Ileana, about it eventually rejecting the host, right? If Max had been fighting this thing, and he did talk often about this internal war going on inside him, you know, if he was, because for a while he was getting the truth out and he was beating this thing. He seemed to be doing well. It's possible that it just terminated him. It just said, you know, enough.
Exactly.
Well, he was a member of our SSP group on Facebook, but I did not know him personally.
I never knew
I'm sorry.
the man.
I thought that you did. That's my mistake.
Yeah, I didn't know him personally either. He was
Me neither.
a little before my time.
Although somebody has said that he mentioned my name in a video interview, that he mentioned my name, like, I never knew Max Spears, so, and he never knew me, so how could they mention my name? Like, I hadn't even come out publicly when Max Spears was out, so it's like, I don't know what people are referring to, but I'm not associated with Max Spears in any way, shape, or form, but I have heard the stories, so the black goo probably did reject him, and it was spit out, and he died.
Well, he was in our group, and he died, I guess 3 or 4 months before you joined the group. And
Me? I think he
Yeah.
might have, because I started disclosing in August 1st, 2015, and I joined in 2016, right? A bit close to the
Yeah.
end.
we started the group in about March of 2016.
Okay, yes.
And we started off with 10 admins, and we had someone go batshit every 6 weeks
Oh, wow.
for the first year, and the last one we had go batshit was last year in March, and well, the end of February, and we've had a really stable group of admins since then, and
Yeah.
I am so grateful to have had almost a year now of us all getting along.
Yeah, like I just want to get along with people. I don't need the crazy drama. I have that in real life. I don't need it in the cyber world. So the calmer the better. And but the how the group is being used in the posting, that is like we're cleaning up more and more stuff. Um like I had just privacy concerns about something that was recently posted about a person asking about the person what's going on. I'm like, I removed it right away. It was approved by somebody, and I removed it because I didn't want a leakage of privacy concerns.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you removed it because that shouldn't be going on. Um, it was meant to be a support group for people who were remembering.
Yeah.
And whether or not they went public was their own personal decision. Because there are consequences. I've been shot 8 times. You were shot day before yesterday. Um, Max was killed. Um, I think Max is the only one that's actually died. But we've had people targeted in various sundry ways, to the point that we've been allowing in people that don't claim SSP but claim targeted individuals,
Yeah.
because there's so much overlap.
Yeah.
And we've been allowing in people that know they were MK Ultra and have weird memories that might be SSP. And so from the medical point of view, they probably consider all of us batshit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, without
but
question. I mean, it's pretty obvious the medical establishment is full of itself.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Oh, you don't take the pills? Nah, batch it.
what we try to do there is have a sane center where you can talk about these weird memories and try to have some sort of I guess ladder to hook them on.